Hey folks, Roy here. I'm going to share with you my experience in rebuilding these RockShox. They're the Indy XCs. This particular RockShox Indy XC is OEM with this specialized rock hopper that I believe is a 97 or 98. So I picked this up used. It was in fairly good condition. Shocks didn't seem that great as far as operations, so I decided to look into rebuilding them and tearing them down. So the first stop, of course, YouTube or Google, right? I highly recommend this guy on YouTube. He's an enthusiast, do-it-yourselfer, weekend warrior, cyclist extraordinaire as far as maintaining your cycling fleet. Really down-to-earth guy, and he has several videos on tearing down these forks. So RJ the bike guy, he's going to tell you how to break these down, and I'm not here to tell you that because he's already done that and has done that very well. I tore it all down. Everything looked good. It was fairly dry in there, not a lot of oil. One thing that did not look good are the polyurethane elastomers. One of them was starting to crumble, and I suspect those are two high wear components in these that need to be replaced. Only problem is they're not readily available anymore. In fact, a lot of the parts on these are not readily available, and I caution you in trying or thinking that picking up a fairly fair price or low price pair on eBay or used is a good idea. Sometimes you have to cut your losses, right? But I tore it down. Everything else looked great. All the seals look great. Everything's great. Got some shock oil, got some slick oleum light grease, which is good for this type of stuff. It's non-corrosive to rubber seals and stuff, so that's really good. But I needed new elastomers. What I did in the interim for that one that was crumbling, I used marine heat shrink on the end, made like a Band-Aid patch, you know, coupling on it, and then also added some 3M 5200, which is very much like new 50A durometer elastomers. Let it dry for a week, put it back in, and it's limped me along. It's fine. So I started looking into the parts or the new elastomers, and really I only found one place online, and it's suspension forks. They're in New Mexico. Suspensionforkparts.net. Okay. They have them. They have them for several varieties of shocks, not just RockShox. But these Indy XC, they're $55 plus shipping, so it's somewhere a little north of $60. And I thought, wow, I gotta find the stock and cut my own. So I started digging, and there's not a lot out there. But one guy on eBay specializes in polyurethane bushings for manufacturing and heavy equipment. K-Pren, K-P-R-E-N, urethane, K-Pren urethane. I'll link the item in the description. Now, he did not have this available until we started a dialogue late last year. I told him what I was looking for because I did some research here. Some of these had different firmness elastomers, basically from about a range of 40A durometer to 60A durometer. A is important because it's the range. There's a different letter for softer, like pencil eraser softness, and then for harder stuff like rollerblade wheels, skateboard wheels, there's another letter for a higher range of durometer. So anywhere between 40 and 60, and I decided 50 would probably be a good spot. Probably could have gone with 60, but you know, you got to make a decision. So I said, I'm gonna go 50A, because I'm also going to use heavier weight oil. Whether or not that's a good idea, I'm just thinking in a classic term that, hey, this is an older set. There's, you know, it's broken in a lot. I want to kind of, I don't know, fill the gaps, so to speak, right? Get some thicker oil in there. But I think the difference between 8, 10 weight and 15 is not extreme. Maybe it is. Maybe someone will say in the comments, yeah, you just screwed up. 15 weight's gonna lock those things up or something. I don't know. So anyway, we had a conversation. He says, hey, I can get you 50A, I can get you 24 inches of it, and I can get, more importantly, 3/4 inch diameter. That's the exact diameter of the ones that are in there. I couldn't find it anywhere else. $30, he said, but it's going to take about 35 days lead time. So So I'm suspecting this is coming from overseas, so he sent it to me. There it is. Now I'm going to tear this back down again. I'm not going to show you that, but I will show you whenever I cut this and get back into it. I sharpened this blade. These are typical PVC pipe cutters. I clamped on my Lansky knife blade sharpener on this and used a very low angle profile to sharpen it, but it's almost like a razor blade now. I had to remove this blade to do it, which you can do that. And anyway, I'm gonna just set it in there and kind of rotate it and try to get a nice even square cut. Then in the uppers here, there's a stack that's attached to this section here. There's a stack here with a piece of regular plastic, ABS plastic, I guess. And on the bottom of it, there's a barbed nipple about an 1/8 inch diameter that pokes into a hole in the top of the stock elastomer. So he said, talking with them, he says, yeah, use that. That'll probably be best to cut it nice and square. Just take your time and then drill the hole. Use a bigger drill bit than what the diameter of the barb is, because this stuff kind of doesn't really remove and cut well. It almost makes more of a, I guess, slit, if you will. Do not melt it, he said. Do not use a hot tip. It makes a gooey, stinky, bad mess, so you don't want to do that. So make sure you cut the length right. I'm probably going to add about 1/8 of an inch just because, I don't know, because over the years, stress relaxation, if these measure 6 inches now, they were probably 6 1/4 in the beginning. Who knows? I wish I knew. I wish I could contact the guys who designed this, said, yes, this will work. Make sure you cut it to this exact length, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. But anyway, I just want to share this with you. Be careful with trying to think that you're going to rebuild these. If anything else is kind of south, you probably need to cut your losses, get a new set of forks. But in my case, I just wanted new durometers, and I really like these RockShox. I don't know, man, I always wanted one. I was jealous of the guys that had them. So here I am. So I'm gonna stop now, and next video I'll shoot is cutting this up and putting it in and show you a little bit of that. And then I'm gonna put the, add the 15 weight oil and try to remove the old 8 weight out of there. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Okay, folks, as you can see here, I had to break this all the way back down because my idea of the Band-Aid that I talked to you about with the 3M 5200 and the heat shrink, yeah, it was going south really fast. This is probably only about, let me guess here, maybe 200 miles, maybe not even that far, total distance. But here it is, this stack here, that's where the crumbling was occurring. Now that looks like a piece of plastic right here, but that's actually the 3M 5200 that formed to this seat here, okay? But this marine heat shrink was actually down over this here, over that whole area. So the friction caused it to slide up. I was thinking maybe the adhesive in the marine heat shrink, when it melted, would keep it there. But what you could tell here is, see all this black, greasy residue? It's not evident on the other stack, and that's because that's disintegration of 3M 5200 marine sealant adhesive that I doped into here to Band-Aid it. So I knew I had to get that contamination out, so I had to break down the entire shock. So next part I'm going to do here, I'm going to stop the video again, is I'm going to attempt to cut these new elastomers to size, drill a hole. I'll show you the hole I'm talking about. Look at this one here. See that little barbed type nipple there? I need to drill a hole in the end of it. That'll be interesting. So that kind of pushes in like that. And if it's not perfect, I don't think it really matters. Once it's all together, there's slight compression, ever so slight, even whenever it's dialed all the way out. So again, I'll measure these, probably add a 1/8 of an inch to the length, and assemble it, put it all back together. And this time, like I said, I'm going to use a 15 weight oil. I don't care. I know RockShox says 8, but I'm going to use 15. See, there's the old oil, and this is Lucas. It's a green tint. You can see all the black in it, so bad stuff. By the way, it's in the manual too. It's 15 cc's, so 15 milliliters per stack, per tube of the oil. I'll be back. All right, so I measured the stock here at 113 millimeter length, 20 millimeter diameter, which is slightly more than 3/4 diameter. So I don't know what to think there. I thought I measured 3/4, but maybe after years of compression, it's swollen some. I mean, it's really pretty much right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 millimeters, 116. Okay, I don't know if you can see that mark there. I'm going to use an end for each one. So this one here is pretty straight. I'll cut here, and then I'll go to this end here, and then I'll come in 116. But if you look here, 116, you know, that's going to give me 3 more millimeters of length there. I think that's what I'm going to shoot for. So here goes. Also, these bolts here, I forgot the name of the bolts that go on the bottom of the lowers. Make sure you clean them off with some mineral spirits or isopropyl, whatever. Dry them out real good, and treat them with some Loctite, and torque them to 15 Newton meters, 14.6 per the manual. But let that dry up a little bit, and then they'll be ready to be installed. It's just a lot of oil in there, right? You don't want them coming off. I think you will definitely feel and notice if your lowers became detached from your uppers. So anyway, here goes. I'm going to go and I'm going to try to cut this. See how this goes. So ratchet this down here. Right there. Right there. And I'm turning it as I go. I gotta get another ratchet here. That's not wanting to ratchet. Great. Well, I want to be careful what I'm doing here. You deform it, you know, it's gonna. This is probably too tight, so I'll come back to this. All right, I don't know here. It's trial and error, you know, this is what I thought would work. Thought this would work. There we go. Whew, stuff is tough. Tough as nails. Tough stuff. If I get this to cut straight, and it's not, it's tearing. Look at that, it's tearing. Interesting. Very, very difficult. I'm gonna follow that. I'm gonna chase that with a razor blade now. Wowzer. I mean, it's pretty square, but it's not as nice as this cut here. So I think what I'll do is I'll drill the hole on this end. This end will go in here for a nice flat surface, and this rough end will go on this bottom seat here, which I think will be fine. lubricate it up, and hopefully that'll work. So now if we look here, and the difference in height is 3 millimeters. You see there? So a little bit taller. All right, now to cut the other side. By the way, based on my measurements, a little over 4 inches per elastomer here. This 24-inch can do 2 forks, and you can have 1 spare elastomer. The 6th elastomer would be too small. So you could make, what I'm saying is you can make 5 elastomers out of this 24-inch stick for 30 bucks on eBay. All right, this time I used a case cutting blade, backed my hands up with a leather glove. I didn't like the handle, actually didn't stick out far enough. And if you see here, that's a lot better surface than using this. I thought that would give me a straighter edge. But in the end, I really don't care. I'm still going to use this. I'm still going to, it shouldn't disintegrate. It should be all good. That should still hold up nice, very well actually. All right, there's the hole. I used a Dremel bit. You're probably going to be asking what size diameter. 3 mil. 3 mil Dremel bit. Anyway, yeah, and then just measure the depth of this hole in the drill. And now that pops in there and should hold. And there's the new elastomer. Just like that. You want to lube that up with slick oleum grease. All of it. Actually, again, reference RJ the Bike Guy. He tells you how to do it. Now I'm gonna drill the hole in this one and assemble it. And here's a quick look at the new elastomers installed with the old elastomers on the side. Obviously that right one, left side, as viewed by the cyclist, really bad. So I hope this will work. Like I said, I'm going to put it back together and test ride it several miles, and then I'll come back with a final review. Some key points again: RJ the Bike Guy, highly recommend. He's got some good videos on servicing these shock forks. And K-Prin urethane on eBay. I will link to the 4 or so pieces that he has left. Do not use a PVC pipe cutter, even sharpened to a razor blade. Does not work. So I'm sharing that folly with you. And use a case cutter blade. I prefer to use it out of the handle, but you can try what you want and whatever works best for you. Just go slow, go really slow. And then finally, the manual, all the torque specs and all that stuff is in there as well. I'm sure RJ probably references them. The key thing though that you will need is a 6 millimeter long extension hex. This is a 3/8 inch socket with at least a 6 inch extension as well to get the lowers off. You don't have to get the lowers off to do the elastomer replacement, but you really need to do a complete overhaul and clean it out. All right, folks, I just got off a ride around the neighborhood, just a couple of miles. Much better action. There's no longer a thud in the rebound, I don't know, in the opposite direction. So when there's a preload and you're riding, some of our driveways have a smooth road curb. So I was popping off of those, and before, when I would come up, when I preload it and then come up, it was almost metallic in the reverse coming off of that preload. And now there's absolutely no thud. Sorry if the video's shaking. I've got the GoPro on my head. It's very tight now. Not to say that the firmness, as far as the shock firmness, that's relatively the same, but it's just not as sloppy, I guess. Loose feeling in the shock operation, so it's very smooth and very, very tight. Now the stock elastomer was 113 millimeter. I added 3 millimeter to 116. I do have stock to cut 3 more elastomers. And I think what I'm going to do for the next set, the next pair, and then I'll leave the remaining, which will only provide 1 spare, uncut, so that the user then can cut to either 116 or the larger that I will cut next. So the next pair, instead of 116, I'm going to go ahead and go 4 more mil to 120. And the reason I say that is these are cranked all the way down and it's at the firmness I prefer. Well, that means I have no adjustment latitude. If I go loose, more loose, it's less desirable. So I think I'm going to go 120 millimeters, effectively putting a little preload on the whole spring and elastomer system, so I might have a little more usable range for my firmness likeness, I guess you can call it. Another thing too, you note, the springs in the video had yellow paint on them. I know I remember seeing something in there. There are different springs available. I think white is one paint color. So there's one that's more firm. I want to say that this one is the softer or the middle spring. Well, I'm not going to look for springs. I don't need springs. This system's working fine. It's dampening fine. Everything is working fine. So again, my next pair I'm going to bring out to 120 millimeters, cut them, have some spare left over, and I did all of that for 30 bucks from the K-Pren urethane eBay seller on eBay. So anyway, that's a wrap, folks. Rebuilt, all is well. Again, make sure that when you do tear these down, you don't find other components that are split, cracked, seals, bushings, or anything like that that look bad, because you're gonna find it very difficult to find those parts. The elastomers are hard enough to find, but at least I'm giving you an option there. But if everything else seems to be fine, in fact, if your elastomers look fine, just clean it out. Put new grease and oil and you're good to go. Thanks for watching.